back to The Pulse, where we do all things people, power, and politics. And there is, as you know, a big race to talk about outside of the presidential race. Joining us now to talk about, yes, the Senate race is Senators, Democrat Mallory McMorrow and Republican Jim Runestad, of course, state senators here, talking about the big Senate race in Washington. And by the way, if you're watching us and you're going, this looks a little unfamiliar, this set right now is just temporary for a little while as they dress the other set up for Halloween. The morning show wants to have some fun, so they're going to be using that studio. But no one's dressing up here. Everyone's in their regular garb to talk about a very important issue. I want to start with you, Senator McMorrow. We know that Alyssa Slotkin so far has really used the dollar and has really outweighed her opponent when it comes to money. I think it's $45 million through October 16th. Rogers and his latest filing was something close to $9.5 million. Money still talks in these elections, right?
It does. And, you know, I've known Alyssa since 2017. Our districts overlapped in our first run for office, and she assembles a team of some of the best people I've ever met. She is an incredibly aggressive fundraiser, and she puts it all to work in terms of messaging, in terms of staff, to make sure that her story gets out there and people know who she is, what she stands for. But it does. You know, you need money to run a good race. What
is it that you're seeing from some of the $9.5 million being raised on the Rogers side, on the ad side, when people watch television and they see these political ads? What is something that you're seeing that says to you that isn't who Alyssa Slotkin is?
You know, it's been really interesting to me. I know Mike Rogers has a long and proud history here in Michigan, and to see some of the ads defaulting into culture war issues instead of talking about the issues that really impact people is to me disappointing. And I think if 2022 is any indication, Michiganders don't want that. They want solutions.
They want solutions. Senator Runestad, right now, when you look at Alyssa Slotkin's and Mike Rogers, specifically when it comes to policies, we keep hearing Rogers accusing Slotkin of an EV mandate, and that's something that she stood up. I interviewed her just last week, and she says that's just not true. It's not an EV mandate. Do you think that there's a problem when it comes to semantics here, and do you think the people at home may be confused when they hear things like that?
Well, you know that the whole EV mandate is a Biden policy, and she has supported all his major policies. They'll talk about something, give her some side issues. So she said, oh, no, I'm bipartisan because I had these side issues. No, she was 100% with Biden on every major issue, and you're also right on the money issue. Trump had 50 billionaires. Kamala Harris has 82 billionaires. And so Slotkin, yeah, she's going to get all the billionaires. They're talking about taxing these billionaires, but they're getting all this mountain of money from out of state. So yeah, it's an uphill climb when you're just getting money from average people, and billionaires are pouring the money in. And yeah, it does buy the messaging.
Well, let's talk about take money aside for here for a moment. Let's talk about messaging instead of money. When you say that she's not necessarily a bipartisan type candidate, when you look at her record in the CIA and you see pictures and you know that these images reflect an entire culture of her shaking hands with former President Bush, Obama, understanding that she has to reach across party lines to make things happen, you don't believe that?
Well, she said she would never have run for office if Mike Rogers had stayed in. She made that comment multiple times. She used to come and testify as a young CIA operative when he was in charge of the Intelligence Committee. And so yeah, she was a big supporter of him then. But now it's what did you do when you're in office? And every major thing that people here in the state of Michigan care about, from inflation, monstrous exploding inflation. We could talk about the gas and the eggs and all of this stuff, but the people know. They feel because it's federal spending, and she's been a part of every single one of those. The open border, she's with Biden on every single, I don't care what she says, she is with Biden on every single one of these open borders.
What about Mike Rogers when it comes to supporting the Trump tariffs that have been talked about so much? The cost of everyday goods and items that people are buying at home can go up because of tariffs. Tariffs aren't to just punish a country, it's to pass along a cost to the customer.
Well, when Trump was in office, even with tariffs, we didn't have anywhere near the inflation we have had since Biden has been in office. It has exploded. We're spending $2 trillion, borrowing $2 trillion a year. Every 6 months, we're borrowing another $1 trillion. That's what causes inflation, and that's been under the Biden administration.
Senator McMorrow, I want you to get a chance to get in here and talk a little bit about the inflation issue here. You know, just today, Vice President Harris said, yes, groceries are too high. Yes, prices are too high. We have to recognize recognize that. Do you think it was because of just the inordinate spending that was happening in Washington? And do you believe that Ms. Slotkin was a part of that?
So something that I think is missed in this conversation is the fact that we went through a global pandemic, and we had to respond as a country to make sure that we could safely reopen schools, we could get people back to work. And of all of the industrialized nations in the entire world, the United States stands alone as a prime example of the singular country that avoided a deep recession. Now, that can be true while simultaneously prices can still be too high, but we are seeing inflation come down. We saw the Fed cut mortgage rates for the first time in many years. It's going to be a delayed impact, but that's why Alyssa has plans to help people, to help working people, supporting Kamala Harris's plans on supporting small business owners, making it more affordable for people to buy their first home, to make sure that we can get out of this area and make sure that people in the middle class can succeed.
But Senator McMorrow, when you look at the kind of spending that the Biden administration with Harris did, $1.7 trillion here, $1.4 trillion here, that is what caused our inflationary period, was this excessive spending that needed to, I guess, by many people's means, be reined in. Do you believe that that's something that she'll be cognizant of moving forward, Ms. Slotkin and Harris, if she gets into office?
You know, I think the challenge is, what do you look at in hindsight that you would do differently? And if you look at the recession, I graduated college right into the recession in 2008 with massive student loan debt. We didn't have the Affordable Care Act. I didn't have health insurance. I lived in the back of my car. And many people argued then that the support from President Obama may have come too late. So now we're in a situation where we avoided the depths of the recession. Now we have to do the work necessary to adjust for inflation and the price controls. But I think we would all rather be in this position than in a place where many of us were in 2008, 2009.
$25,000 first-time loans for some homeowners out there. Senator Runestad, when you take a look at that, Ms. Harris has said before, the VP, that, hey, in order to make money, you have to spend money. This is an investment into the community. Do you believe that giving people affordable housing and allowing people to have first-time home buying experiences is key to a vital middle class?
Every expert I've talked to along those lines said if you give an extra $25,000 in tax credit, the price of the home goes up by $25,000. That is not the problem. The reason we have inflation is this massive flooding the nation, helicoptering out billions and billions of dollars all over the nation into every single entity that wants money, including this operation. That's going to increase the cost for the home buyers. It's not going to save us from the inflation. The inflation's got to be solved by cutting the federal spending.
Would you have disagreed with the GI Bill?
The GI Bill was not during massive inflation. That was right after the World War II for people who put their lives on the line. Who else has put their lives on the line? World War II, the greatest generation, and equate them to everything else?
To be able to, but with all due respect, Senator Runestad, to be able to make an investment into your future in order to better your country, just by principle, isn't that by virtue of what we should be doing?
$25,000 additional dollars into each home?
Not each
purchase?
one. I think there's certain homeowners, but perhaps that's not
all
something
the experts say you will increase the price by $25,000. Anytime you dump money in, you have an increase in the price. It isn't going to solve the problem.
I want to ask you one more question about something that affects all of us here at home, the Line 5 pipeline that we've talked about a lot on this program. Slotkin says, hey, shut it down. It's not safe. Rogers says it's basically essential to our economy to keep it open, but recognizes the environmental threat. Senator McMorrow, isn't Rogers on point by recognizing the value and also recognizing the threat?
I think he's right. And I think that Congresswoman Slotkin, hopefully Senator Slotkin, will take a very balanced approach as well. You know, it is an essential pipeline to our country and to our state. However, it has now been many years beyond its initial lifespan. We've seen multiple anchor strikes. And if there is a leak in that pipeline into our Great Lakes, mind you, we have 85% of the nation's freshwater supply here in Michigan. That would absolutely be catastrophic.
Senator Runestad, do you agree?
Oh, I agree 100%. That's why we passed a bill to fund digging a pipeline underneath, way underneath the shore there in order to prevent an anchor strike. And Gretchen Whitmer and Nessel have held that up. And this is a vital pipeline. You can't get all the propane by trucks and everything up into the UP and back and forth. You'd have a massive catastrophe there trying to truck all this. You'd go from like $4 a gallon of propane to $18 a gallon and have a massive possibility of all kinds of truck hazards along the way.
We have about 15 seconds left. left for each of you. I wanted to ask you the question about the races here. How closely do you believe this Senate race will mirror the presidential race? Senator McMorrow.
You know, Alyssa has always run in tough races. I believe she will pull ahead of the national race because that's who she is. She reaches across the aisle and she brings in a lot of voters who believe that she is the right candidate.
Will it mirror, do you think, in terms of numbers, very much what we're seeing in the presidential race?
I think it'll be close, but I think she'll come out ahead.
Senator Runestad?
Well, it's hard to say when she's got millions and millions more than her opponent. That always does tell in a race. But I think when it comes to the economy, when it comes to the immigration issue, when it comes to the EV mandates, I think that that Mike Rogers is going to pull it off.
Senator Runestad, Senator McMorrow, really good to see both of you. Thanks for this conversation, helping everybody at home make up this decision in this 11th hour.